Hi, Mark Safe here again. In this lesson, I'll teach you why making an all-in bet is a much stronger and more profitable play than making an all-in call. One of the keys to becoming a profitable poker player is to limit the number of tough decisions that you have to make in any given hand, while hopefully creating situations that force your opponents into tough spots of their own. In hands where you're facing an opponent with a chip stack of near equal size to yours, the best way to create this dynamic is to become the aggressor. Let's say you and your opponent both start a hand with about 20 big blinds. You look down to find ace-jack suited and make a standard 3x big blind raise in middle position before your opponent re-raises all in. Do you like your spot here? Probably not. While ace-jack suited is a good hand, it's not a great one, and when your opponent moves in on you, you have to start wondering about what kind of hands he may be holding. Ace-king? You're in trouble. Same with ace-queen. A pocket pair? Well, you're racing at best and are way behind if your opponent has a hand like aces, and you're about a 2-to-1 dog if your opponent has kings, queens, or jacks. You're probably better off looking for a better spot to get your chips in the middle. Because you didn't consider the size of your or your opponent's stack before you bet, you've put yourself in a tough spot that you could have easily avoided. Because now it's unlikely you're holding the best hand, you're probably going to have to fold your ace-jack and lose some chips in a hand that could have been profitable had you played it differently. Let's take this same hand and say that you move all in instead of just making a standard 3 times the big blind raise. What happens? A couple things actually. First, you've avoided putting yourself in a spot where you'll be forced to make any tough decisions later on in the hand. With your chips in the middle, it's now up to your opponent to determine if his hand is worth calling off all his chips. Even if he's holding a better hand than yours, say ace-queen, your all-in play gives him a tough decision if he's forced to call for all his chips. Of course, if he has a hand like a pair of 8s, 9s, or 10s, you're in a coin flip situation, but again, your opponent may fold that type of hand to your all-in bet. Second, by forcing the tough decision on your opponent, you've given yourself an extra way to win the pot. Remember, when you call all in, you need to have the best hand at showdown, but now, if you can force your opponent to fold to your aggression, you can win the blinds and antes along with any dead money that may already be in the pot. If your opponent calls, you can still win the pot if your hand is best at showdown. Are there downsides to being the pre-flop aggressor against a similarly stacked opponent? Yes, but the upside outweighs the risks. By moving all in pre-flop against an equally stacked opponent, you may cost yourself some extra chips by forcing a fold from a hand that you could have beaten at showdown. You may also cost yourself some chips by taking away your opponent's ability to try to bluff you with a weaker hand post-flop. But in general, the benefits of taking down a pot with pre-flop aggression against an equally stacked opponent outweigh the potential risks.